get devs on and they sort of go,
All right.
so,
Bad enough, I can't reach the
Not a
floor
bad
either.
idea.
all right.
Live.
Oh, we're live. Oh, we're in trouble
Just
now.
wanna put my
So
feet
now
up.
the first thing you guys have to know before we even introduce this is you can see the monitor up there? There's a delay. So it's going to really freak you out if you're looking at that. But anyway, here we are at the SOE Community Webcast, and today we have a very special cast for you. We are featuring members of our volunteer guide event program. You know those initials spell VEG, right?
Yes, we know
Veg.
that.
Mhm. I'm sure this will come up for discussion in the future.
I'm sure.
I'm Linda Carlson. You guys know I'm the Director of Global Community Relations here at SOE. What you don't know is I consider that I got the start of my career in the gaming industry by being a member of the Volunteer Guide program. That was back in probably the year 2000, I think. I had just moved to the US, couldn't get a green card. It was a very, very long wait. I needed something to do. I was playing EverQuest full-time at that time, and I'd heard about this guide program, so I applied. And they said, so you have to make a new character. Well, let me make a dwarf, but I was already playing a male dwarf as my primary play character, and I'd been watching my son. He was playing a female dwarf at the time, bearded, obnoxious, garrulous, in your face, and I thought, when I grow up, I want to be that dwarf. So that's what I made. I made a bearded female dwarf. What's an appropriate name? Brass! And that is where the character of Brass got started. I owe everything that I am to the volunteer guide program that we have at SOE. I learned everything that I needed to know about community, customer service, interfacing with the players, and also the complexities of the program itself, as well as what the game was all about and why the passion drives so many of us to continue playing some 13 years later. So thank you all for that, and you guys have been terrific over the years. We do want to talk about the history of the program, what it takes to join the guide program, why the guides do what they do, because let's face it, it's kind of thankless at times. How you guys got involved, the types of events and quests that you run, and what the future holds for the guide program. You all ready for that?
Sure.
So joining us today, off screen, we have Elder Guide Ainur. She's going to be in our chat channel. And on screen today, we have Senior Guide Squeecha, who plays the so cutest little Ratibonga in game. Female Ratibonga, I might add. And Elder Guide Rainara and Senior Guide Ryleth. And these guys are here to answer all of our questions. This is going to be really fun. So, history of the guide program. I've told you my history. Now we want to hear about when did you become a guide? When did you become a guide? And why on earth did you join the guide program? Even more important, why are you still in it?
I joined in early 2006. I had actually started to join earlier, but ended up moving, so I had to wait. And I joined because I had run across guides, had seen guides, seeing what they do, looked like fun. I wanted to have fun. And I still do it because it is fun.
Really? After all these years? And how long have you, since 2006, so that's like 6 years.
6 years and change.
Of volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. Rainara.
I joined in 2000.
Wow, same year I did. Yes, congratulations.
And why? I guess the same reason a lot of people join. They run into guides, they have a good experience, they run into GMs that help them, Michelle Butler, and so you want to be a part of it. So why, after 12 years, am I still here? It's a labor of love, definitely. It's
And is it the interaction with the players that you love, or just being involved in the games, or what is it?
I think it's a combination of all of that. It's you have to love the game, you have to love the players, and you have to love your fellow guides that you work so closely with. It's a close-knit family.
Your turn.
I joined in 2007, and the reason I joined is because I came across a guide who was doing a guide event, and I wanted to do what she was doing. So I talked to her about the information, and I signed up. I'm still here today and still loving every minute of it.
So you're actually one of the later additions on this
I am.
particular team. You're the newbie.
I'm the youngest.
The newbie. 2007 though, that's 5 years that you've been doing this. That's pretty amazing. Let me ask, what games does the guide program currently serve with SOE?
Vanguard.
I'll defer it to the boss.
EverQuest 2.
So
Hopefully we'll be expanding into others.
that's what I was going to say. We have a player question here from Chris OS. Do you plan to expand to other games? We've been discussing this today. You might wonder why we have these guys in the studio. Whoops. And it's primarily to discuss where the guide program is and what we hope to achieve in the future. And one of the things we have been discussing is the possibility of expanding to other games. We know that there are passionate players in PlanetSide. You know PlanetSide 2 is coming out, DC Universe Online, and of course Vanguard we hope to expand more, especially now that we have a dev team working on the game as well. So expanding to other games, Mr. Chris OS? Probably. It all depends if there are people willing to volunteer their time and effort and participate. I think we're willing to support that. So let me just ask, if somebody's interested in becoming a volunteer guide, what does it take? What do you need to ask yourself before you decide to become involved in this?
Do you want to help?
Do you want to help? Mm-hmm.
Do you have a little extra time? And do you like having fun in the game that you're already having fun playing?
Looking to do more.
Mm-hmm. Is there a minimum requirement involved in terms of time commitment?
There's not a specific amount of time required. There's a level of activity, like you run a quest a week, or maybe be online and role play a certain amount of times, but there's not a requirement that you have to be on for 30 minutes or anything like that.
And how many guides do we currently have in the program? You would know this number.
I would.
No?
We have, it's approximately 275.
So
Something like that.
275 or so.
Yeah.
And one of the
growing.
interesting things I saw was that we have our monthly business meetings, and we like to surface the number of quest handouts and scripted quests that the guides do. And I seem to recall that last month it was well over 3,000 individual contacts made with players, and that was just for, was that EQ or EQ2? EQ2? That's a huge number of customer contacts, ways that you touch other players personally. So speaking from your own experience, Squeecha, how many quests do you run in a week?
It can vary. Sometimes it's just one. Sometimes I'm on actually just wandering around role-playing with people, so I'm not doing a quest. But then like a couple of weeks ago, we had a special event for one day to see how many we could do on my server. And I think on the one day, we ran 32.
Wow. One day.
Quest-a-palooza.
Okay, so this was a day when you had a lot of, do we get sponsorship from Red Bull? If not, we should probably get sponsorship from Red Bull at SOE. That must have taken a tremendous amount of effort. How many guides were involved in that?
We used the guides that are assigned to the server, and we also got a little help from some of the ones that float around and help as needed.
That's very cool. Do we have any screenshots from past events that we can roll? We just want to run some of those for you guys. It's very, very interesting stuff over the years. I don't know if these are quests that you guys were involved in or other ones, but I can remember that getting dressed up in alternate forms was always one of my favorite parts of the guide program, and making people's days special. Let me ask, as these are rolling, how do you deal with disruptive players that you come across in these events? Because you know there are some, inevitably. What do you do with them? Disruptive players. I know you were mesmerized by the images. But what do you do with disruptive players in these events?
Usually we try to bring them back to the quest without disrupting anything with the quest going on. And if not, we do have ways to summon them away from the event, should they not behave.
We have ways,
We
is what
have
you're saying.
ways.
Yeah. Do you find that you get a lot of that, or is it improving over the years?
It's very rare that we find anybody that
It's improved greatly.
Hardly ever
Greatly.
see anybody nowadays.
Usually has to do with our PvP events instead of our actual events.
So what types of events and quests are there? Like there's more than just one. There are quests that you can grant to people, as well as the scripted quests that you run where everybody plays a part. What can you tell us about those?
It differs between the platforms. EQ2 has non-combat quests for their roleplay, and they have a tool that they can grant quests. EverQuest has a PvP events Roleplay quests, non-combat quests, and combat quests.
And we just heard today that apparently Vanguard has some quests that we weren't aware of. What you can't see is off screen. We've got Michelle Butler who's sitting in on this, and she's part of the new, and revised Vanguard development team. And it looks like we're going to have some interesting things to run in that game as well. So very much looking forward to that. One of the questions we just had come in from a player in the chat channel is, will quest rewards improve from MRGP 2004? Isn't that funny? I'll tell you that the reason these guys are on site right now is to discuss ways in which SOE can better support the guide events and the guide program. And one of those ways is certainly to improve the quest rewards. So we need to get your wish lists in so that we can get them into the dev teams. Oh, Amy says that we need to be louder? Oh, okay. Ryleth needs to be louder.
I will try.
Employ your yelling voice. Yeah. So, yes, wise precaution. So quest rewards, yeah, we are well aware that sometimes the quest rewards are not what people are looking for. To be honest, before I joined the guide program, I mostly ran them for the experiences rather than the actual rewards, but wish lists, get working on them. That's for all you guys out there in Guideland as well. Start making those wish lists and send them into your elders and seniors, and we can work on that. So speaking for yourself, how many events do you run in a typical month in these games? I mean, I know it goes over 1,000 in each game. It's
There's
crazy.
a lot. I've never actually counted them.
We have on one server, we have a guide that'll run 50, 60 quests a month. So
In a normal month without even actually stretching to do more.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Who writes the events? Who writes the quests? I mean, is that something that you guys do, or do you rely on the company to write these, or?
Yes.
Thank you, Sucha.
Definitely both.
You wanted a succinct answer. It's a combination of both. Most of them come from guides who write something, come up with an idea. Sometimes they come up with the idea out of whole cloth. Sometimes it's based off of a tool. And sometimes we get it straight from the developers who put in a tool, like recently on EverQuest 2 for the new zones. They put in one with a whole new quest.
That's a cool thing. I remember that over Christmas we didn't have guides on the Freeport server yet for EQ2, so members of the community team volunteered to do those, and I logged in on one day, and it was a lot of fun, but I was getting overwhelmed by the number of people who wanted to be involved in the questing process. So I was ever so happy when I suddenly saw this flaky white Ratonga land. That's that guy on the end there. That was tremendous, but how do you deal with players when they're all crowding around you? I'm actually asking for advice here. When they're all crowding around you and they all want to participate in the quest and they're doing things like making themselves bigger in order to get attention, which just means you can't see the 30 people behind them. How do you deal with that? I was actually telling them, so would you please reduce the size of your mount? Please dismiss your pets. Please, oh, for heaven's sake, get in line. How do you deal with it? Because that was crazy. The demand was overwhelming.
Depends on my mood on the day.
Oh, the mood. Oh, do tell. What happens when you're in a bad mood?
Hires a bouncer.
If I'm in a bad mood, I just say, okay, I'm moving over to this part of the world. Normally what I'll do is I'll ask for them to help, and a lot of times the other players help. Like I was in that same one, and suddenly some of the players started stepping up and telling everybody else, get in line, move, stand in line so they can see. Sometimes I just kind of go the middle ground and zoom out so I can see over the crowd and see that poor little Fae that's being stood on by a giant horse.
That's terrific. Can you describe some of the support that you get from the dev team? What sorts of tools do you get in these games? And I know they're all different because they're all supported by different dev teams. So how do the tools differ from game to game?
The devs, they've been great to us for years now, and they give us all kinds of things, the rewards, the help with the quests that they put on the NPCs for us, just anything you can think of.
So I think part of what we're doing here today is getting together some ideas for future requests for the dev teams.
Yeah, lots of requests.
I know that there's
Jeez.
More cheese. That's terrific. Now, we know that guides have been at Fanfare for years. This year, of course, with SOE Live, we're going to further expand the guide team efforts, including special T-shirts, which we're hoping that you guys will design, by you guys not necessarily meaning you guys, but people in the guide team, to further differentiate yourselves as well and to help with your recruitment efforts. Are you looking for new guides?
Yes.
All the
Always.
time?
All the time.
Always.
For all the games?
Every game that we're in, we're looking for new guides on. And if we happen to expand, we'll be looking for them there.
Very good.
People right now in the guide program. So, writing quests, and so I'm sure we'll get some good T-shirt ideas.
I hope so. I
We
know
won't
there's some
be
very
called
creative
veg
minds.
anymore.
Veg. I kind of like, oh yeah, veg, volunteer event guide. Okay, so that's the site where you can currently access the guide program application, which, we've been talking a whole lot more about today in terms of how we can better promote this and get more people interested in the guide program. I mean, certainly we have not as many people in the guide program as we did back in the day when I was involved. And part of that, to be perfectly honest, I'll say this, SOE has not necessarily supported the guide program in the manner to which they would like to become accustomed. And we're here today to meet with the guide program to discuss ways that we can improve that. Better tools, better forums, better rewards, which players themselves have brought up on numerous occasions, and better ways to promote the guide program, both within our individual games, in articles, as well as social media, which we haven't even talked about yet. We're going to talk about that after this podcast, or after this webcast. And that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And so tell us a little bit about your characters in the guide program. I, of course, played Brass, the obnoxious dwarf. What were you in the guide program?
I was originally a bard male who ran around telling stories. And then I became a wood elf druid who actually, her persona was to take all of the ogre toenail dirt out of the ogres and make it for fertilizer.
Okay, that's kind of a weird task.
Yes,
How are you progressing with that particular quest line?
quite well. No abuse of the ogres necessary.
Ah, and Rainara, what do you play in the guide program?
I've always been a rogue with the surname of Thief of Hearts. At the time when I became a rogue,
We'll get to that question.
that's my son. At the time, there weren't any. There weren't any rogues, and I was the first one on my server, and so, and I've never changed. Well, recently I did take on Free Blood.
Okay, I'm just
Me
going to
too,
say
but-
that the fact that you play a rogue, is that how you became an elder?
You found out my secret.
Do you actually, as an elder guide, do you find you actually still have time to play and enjoy the game? Because what you
Absolutely.
do as a volunteer must take up a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah, it takes up a lot of time, but, we got a lot of help. We have a lot of good people. And, so yeah, I still play. I still have time to play. I still love it after 13 years. So,
We're very happy that you've provided free labor for 13 years. Don't let anybody hear that. So, Squeecha, you don't look much at all like your play character.
Well, when I was first starting, I thought about making one that looked like me, but I thought it might be a little more approachable to have a small, cute, giggly, cheery Ratanga than a large, dark, hulking, long-haired barbarian.
The first time I saw him in game, I was shocked. I was shocked. Really, this little female little
Interesting.
rat.
And
And
so,
then to
so what
meet him
you're
in person.
right. So what you're telling me is people do not recognize you when they go to our annual fan event.
Well, the first time I went, I showed up, was going up to get my badge. All the other guides were getting their badges. Went up, waited till it was my turn in line. Everybody's standing around talking. I stepped up, and they said, "So who are you?" I went, "I'm Squeecha. conversation stopped.
That's very cool. Now, we had a question from Rainara, identify this person as her son, who asks, after 12 years, where's your epic cape?
I would like to know that also. Where
Is this
is
something
my
we need
epic
to follow up on?
Dev request.
It's going to be on my wish list.
Okay. Now we have another question from Pretty Vox, who says, will volunteers get better rewards? Question is, what sort of rewards are you looking for? If you're a member of the guide program, please send your requests on to your senior management team, who will send it on to the elders, because believe me, we're working on just that. So, yes. I wonder what they're going to ask for. Ponies? Starbucks gift certificates? I don't know.
Station
Oh,
cash.
there's another quest coming up.
Ale.
Ale.
Unrest, Mrs. Squeecha. Oh, man. So tell us, Squeecha, why
Unrest,
did you
you can
move
have
from
them back.
Unrest?
Actually, I've been on several. I was on Unrest before I moved to Freeport. Generally what happens is something will come along where a server needs a senior, and I'm generally always I'll volunteer.
The go-to person.
I kind of figured as much, because when I was on Freeport all by myself, where there is no guides there, suddenly you showed up. So you must be a member of the SWAT program.
No, actually I'm not.
How did you get on? Wait, was he allowed to be on that server?
It's
Yeah.
a Rotanga thing.
Oh, Vanguard question. How does the rule regarding guiding on your own play server work? Now, has that changed over the years for EQ and EQ2 as well?
No,
Okay,
it
so
hasn't.
All right.
There's been some modification in special instances like the German server and French server, because obviously
because of the
There's
limited
only
number of
one
players,
server,
yes.
for ones like Vanguard, if there's only one server or maybe even only two, then you're allowed to, because it's kind of hard for you not to be on your play server in that case.
One of the things we've certainly been talking about today is the fact that with Vanguard enjoying a new development team, we are definitely going to want to expand the guide program on the Vanguard servers. So for those of you who asked that question, you should be applying to the guide program and ask those questions directly. Wrap it up sign for the volunteer event guide program. And again, if you want to apply or get more information, please go to the address that you see on your screen. One of the things we want to do this year is we definitely want to bring you some more history of the guide program, what's gone on in the past, do a better job of writing articles about what the guide program's doing now, what we're doing in the future. Please keep an eye on Facebook and Twitter for more details, and we'll try to bring you as much information as humanly possible. And when you can, please come to SOE Live. We're going to have tons of guides there. They're going to be easily identifiable. You'll at least
With our new
recognize
shirts.
Squeecha in his non-Ratonga form. Yes.
I'm
and,
the short, petite one.
It'll be terrific. And thank you for joining us today
I'm
on the
the tall
SOE
one.
Community Webcast. Yeah, Rainara is the tall one. We hope you enjoyed listening a little bit about the guide program. We hope that you're interested, and we'll look to find out some more as we progress throughout the year and improving everything that we can about the program, because these guys have been working their butts off for 13 years. And we really want to recognize those efforts. It's just tremendous that you're providing all of these services to your fellow players in EQ, EQ2, Vanguard, and hopefully in future, new games. Please do enjoy the podcast next week. I believe that we have Pox Nora coming up. They're going to do some more play sessions, which we know that you guys enjoy. Hear about expansion number 20 that's coming up. And thank you all. Have a good evening.
Sony.